Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I am your host, Casey Dobson. Oops, we made it halfway and didn't even know it. Or did we? Some of us know it. Some of us know that we have gone halfway through this regular season and we knew it. And then some of us have completely forgotten, but others are completely aware. Anyways, I'm doing a terrible job at trying to make sense while not making sense, but I don't make sense. So let's get into it because I've got a little bit of a busy day. I say a busy day. Not really, but I'm back to it. I'm back to it. Back from a week long vacay, so to speak. I don't really feel like it was a vacation. I feel like I did more driving than I did anything else. Drove to New Orleans on a Thursday morning, drove back Saturday morning. Can you really even say that you were in New Orleans at all? We drove past the Superdome. It's actually kind of cool looking, I guess, for a football stadium. Anyways, let's get into week 11. Let's break it down. I believe that we had some matchups of the week. We had one matchup of the week: Trippin' Billies and Bench Warmers, and it did not disappoint. Except there was some disappointment, and scores might have been a little different. That might be why there's a certain title. Because last week I realized that I have been neglecting my responsibilities as the host as to calling out a certain player or teams for neglecting their roster or forgetting to set their roster or setting their roster up for success or what they felt like would be a successful day. And not so much. Didn't prove to be that way. But will our oops of the week come from that matchup? We'll find out next. Stay. Actually, that is a good segue for me to actually take a sip of water. Water. It makes up 70% of who I am. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about last week's other uh, not so good matchups because they weren't the matchup of the week, right? No, they were also equally as interesting. Let's start with the one, you know what? It's at the top of the screen. Let's talk about the one that I always seem to talk about the most, and that's myself. And why not? Let's get into it. I normally, and I still do to this day, hate the day of Sunday as it pertains to one fantasy baseball aspect. I actually just hate the day, really in general, for a lot of reasons. Mainly because it really like just poo poos on the weekend. Because once you get to Sunday, you wake up Sunday morning, you wipe the sleep from your eyes, and then you realize, crap, I gotta go to work the next day. But in terms of fantasy, it leaves you with a bitter taste in your mouth. The way that I explained this to Ray yesterday, when I reiterated to her that I just hate Sundays. Well, I said that I hate Sundays, but the opposition probably loves Sundays for themselves because it seems that every Sunday, a team that I'm playing ends up finding a way and wins on Sunday. Well, this past Sunday, yesterday, uh, uh, my goodness, sitting there watching the Braves destroy the Colorado Rockies. And Ozzie Albies hits a 3-run home run. Okay? Feel like I could come back from that. Then later in the game, Michael Harris, newly acquired Michael Harris, might I add, goes 5 for 5 and hits himself a 3-run home run. So with those 2 home runs, one Bucketheads dropped a shit ton of RBIs, took the lead in that category, and also took the lead in home runs. And last week had 2 players, Ozzie Albies and Justin Turner alone, that carried his roster with 10 RBIs, 7 runs. Both of those guys had 7 runs and 10 RBIs and combined for 5 home runs. Out of those 2 guys, I feel like I would him. But that's the name of the game. On the flip side, I was able to get a little bit more of some home runs from Spencer Steer. Christopher Morel was able to help me out a little bit. Mike Trout. But I got no home runs last week from Freddie Freeman. None. That is terrible. It's detrimental. I also benched a home run. Oops. That's a little oops. From Matt McLain, John McLain's son, on my bench. And he had a fantastic day the day that I benched him. I believe it was 2 runs, a home run, 3 RBI. Would have been nice. The flip side of that is what I'm talking about, where Sunday actually shined for me. Now, the problem with doubleheaders, with pitchers, well, with any player, but when you have a doubleheader and you slate into your lineup, first game starts, sorry for your luck, you can't move that player anymore for that day. Now, on the batting side, it makes a little bit more sense that you would do this because 9 times out of 10, unless you have an aging player as a batter or hitter, rather, that they're going to probably play the doubleheader. But on the flip side, if you have a pitcher and at first you think, all right, well, they were supposed to pitch Saturday, so they're probably going to pitch the starter and not the late game. And I was like, okay. But then as the categories started to really shape up and become a little troublesome in terms of ERA and WHIP between myself, well, not so much as WHIP, but definitely ERA, I began to be a little concerned with having one Brian Belo in my starting roster. But once the first game for the Boston series with the Yankees started, I was kind of screwed. Well, baseball gods decided to take favor on me. And last night, I could not believe that they let him go 7. Now, he went 7 innings last time against the Yankees, but I did not think that he was going to come out after his 6th inning. But he came back out in the 7th, and he got the quality start already at that point. Then he had the 8 strikeouts and the 1.29 ERA because he only gave up the 1 run, and he got the win. Now, what sucked is earlier in the day, one Jose Alvarado got me a save plus hold and tied up that category for Brian and I. But because Kenley Jansen is on the Boston Red Sox and the game was as close as it was, he came into the game and got a save plus hold for him. And also dropped his ERA down even a little bit more. So, but I got the win from Belo, tying that category up. I was able to drop my ERA down, and that was the deciding factor, was Brian Belo. And what's funny is I picked him up last week. Number one, I picked him up because we don't have that many pitchers out there. Have y'all seen the waiver wire? Oh, my God. It's disgusting. But he's actually had some pretty good numbers. And in terms of what was out there, well, I had to pull the trigger. I had to make a decision. And last week, it didn't prove to be as useful against Josh, but it did make it a little close. But this week, yeah. Fuck Louis Varland, because he screwed me out of everything. Tarek Skubal can't come back quick enough, or Gavin Williams can't get called quick enough. Anyways, we have spent way too much time on that matchup. I just really was hoping that I had a Sunday win. I didn't want to tie. I wanted to win. I needed that. I felt like I deserved it. And thank you, young man, Mr. Belo, for stepping up, getting me what I needed. I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you. Moving on. Let's move on. Let's get out of that matchup. Brian, good job. Thanks for playing, but have a seat. Look at me. All this trash talk with a one point win, but makes a difference. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Oh, man, I got to adjust here. Hold on, people. Oh, bear with me. I'm sitting too low. Now let's make sure the camera angle is good because I'm not on the camera. There we go. Yeah, we're good there. All right, 12 minutes into this bad boy, and we have not even talked about the other matchups, so we got to fix that real quick. I'm going to go ahead and give you all the scores of the other matchups, and that's it. You just came here to hear about my matchup. No, you didn't. Let's move on. Eric. What can we say, Eric Croft? Sir, I know that you had high hopes. I know that you were feeling really good about your roster because you had been rising up the ranks. And technically, you're not necessarily out of it. We still have 11 more weeks. Maybe this was a good omen, your score of 11-0, because maybe you're fixing to go 11-0 and in a big way. But last week, sir, I'm not sure your baseball team showed up. I think you're welcome for Manny Machado being on your team. And really outside of that, good job on picking up one Logan Thomas. But your team is struggling and struggled mightily against the names like Christian Walker, Corbin Carroll, Bryson Stott, and Alec Boehm, and Kyle Tucker, obviously. But you couldn't hold a candlestick to Nick. And quite frankly, it makes us all a little alarmed at what Nick is doing. And we'll get into that in a minute as well. 40-30, 14-9, 48-34, and 9-4 in the stolen bases. 326-269, 403-336. You weren't even in the same league, Eric. Pitching wasn't that much of a wasn't far off either. You nearly doubled his ERA. 336-625. You lost by 21 strikeouts. The only thing that saved your ass from a complete shutout was your relief pitchers. And relief pitchers, I mean, is it Tyler or Trevor that you have on your team? You have Tyler, not Trevor. And they both pitch on the same team, right? That'd be pretty weird. Send up the Rogers kid? Oh, wait, no, the other one. Yeah, not good. Domingo Germán, Max Scherzer, Chris Bassett did not do you any favors, sir. Not good at all. And of course, one free, I might add, Bryce Miller, after his back-to-back terrible outings he has given us against Miami and the White Sox, wins, quality starts, and ERAs under 155, and both 6 strikeouts. He was free. Bobby Miller, who looked like he was cruising along in that San Francisco game, got tuned up a little bit, but everyone would suggest that he's got it. I love watching that guy pitch. He loves to talk to himself a lot. I can relate. Him and I, we would probably get along with ourselves. Maybe not each other, because we'd be talking to ourselves so much and not talking to each other, getting to know each other. But in that matchup, 11-0. We'll get into just how bad that was for the rest of us in the league. That massive defeat. But Eric is not smiling wherever he is at right now. I can tell you that much. Let's get into Mandalorians and Rayford Peaches. This one also was a Sunday matchup, and it came down to the last day. And Ray was not very happy about one Tony Gonsolin's performance. He did not give her a quality start, did not get her a win, and therefore they tied in both of those categories and ended up costing her the tie, I guess. But you can't blame pitching for your hitting stats. She did get some pretty good numbers from Edman, although a 158. Ugh. DJ LeMahieu is washed up, people. Not good. JD Martinez came back down to earth, and Teoscar Hernandez seems to be heating up. On the flip side, Ronald Acuna Jr. is just badass. Orlando Arcia, the more and more you look at it, he's better than Dansby Swanson. Let's get that correct. I want to make sure of that. So Orlando Arcia's numbers. He's ranked 117 in our league. He's got a 341 batting average, 6 home runs, 25 RBIs, and 1 stolen base. Now we have to find Dansby Swanson. Who owns that guy? Is that the Hitman? Let's go to the Hitman team. This is great podcasting, but I'm curious. Javier Dansby Swanson is not on that. Wait, is Dansby Swanson on Brian's team? And I just didn't know it? I forgot? Let's check it out. Brian, if he is on your team, I apologize. He obviously wasn't that big of an impact. Yes, he is. There he is. All right. Dansby Swanson's numbers are in our league. He is, I don't see his ranking, but 264 batting average, 7 home runs, 30 RBIs, 33. So, yeah, I think that, there it is. So he's ranked 192, 264 batting average, 7 home runs, 30 RBI, 4 stolen bases. I'm going to say we won out. I want to say the Braves won that deal. So the end of the season will prove. But right now, when you almost have what is that? That's almost a .100 batting average difference. Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, sure. So, anyways, go Braves. Way to make the decision. Don't pay the guy. Okay? Maybe they saw something that the rest of the league did. And he helped you win a World Series, but I think Freddie should have been paid because he's proven that he's worth a damn. But the Mandalorians and the Rayford Peaches 6-4, and Sunday was the deciding factor. Red Sox Nation and McCollin 25. Jason, I think, is about to board the same ship that Eric is on. and they're both just going to go down with it. And the band. I think that's how I feel. I feel like Jason and Eric are probably just sitting outside having some charcuterie. We have a rule: whenever you hear charcuterie, you gotta drink. So technically, I gotta have two. And there it is, two. Speaking of two, it's 2:10 in the afternoon. We are 21 minutes into this bad boy almost, and we still haven't gotten to the oops matchup of the week and next week. This is gonna be good. By the way, I'm gonna derail a little bit too. Was in the editing room today with my buddy David for podcast number, or not podcast, video number 2 for Show Me Something Nugan. So if you haven't subscribed already to We Got Something Here, please do. Rate and review me. Anyways, moving on. Colin 25 took old Jason to the whooping shed. In the batting categories, they tied in stolen bases, but everything else was pretty much all McCollin. And when I say McCollin, it was pretty much the Shohei Ohtani and Jonathan India show. Ohtani and India, attorneys at law. The rest, no. Yeah, 12 runs batted in for one Shohei Ohtani. 7 for Jonathan India. So, yeah, will those numbers sustain? I don't know. But when you're not getting production from Alex Bregman, Bo Bichette calmed down for you, Adolis Garcia. Yeah. Got problems over there in Boston. Pitching, Blake Snell showed up to pitch. Solid numbers across the board from everybody else for the most part. And that's basically where you got your production. Pitching. Jason, I need pitching. Hit me up. Maybe we can make a trade. That's right. Let me look right into the camera. Jason. Camera's this way, dumbass. Jason, I could use a pitcher. Please hit me up. I would like to trade. All right, there we go. There's that little public service announcement for you. Hopefully Jason watches this podcast. But yeah, Jason carried his team with 4 pitching categories. He won the wins, won by 1 strikeout, 3.36 ERA to 4.13, and got 2 more quality starts. So yeah, Jason, if it's batting you seek, maybe I have something you need. Help a brother, help a brother. Let's help each other out. How many more matchups do we have to cover? Let me see here. Guys, I need some coffee. I'm going to text the son, say, make me a cup of coffee. Here we go. Aiden, make me coffee. I need coffee, people. I know it doesn't seem like I do, but I do. We've gone through the Hitman, the Mandalorians matchup, Red Sox Nation. We have gone through mine for 27 minutes. We talked about that. We went through Drop It Like It's Hot and Eric's. Let's get into the matchup of the week. 7-4 was your final score. That's it. No, not at all could I do this to you guys. Got a text message. Aiden's going to make me a cup of coffee. Love it. Speaking of which, happy Father's Day to everybody that's a father. That's all of us. Happy Father's Day. We earned it, guys. Another year. Another notch under our belt, okay? Where we got, I don't know what you did. Hopefully you did something. I slept in. I was made breakfast, a delicious breakfast. And I got to see a pretty good movie. I was not expecting it to be that good, but it was good. The movie is The Flash. And Then went and had some really good pizza from Mellow Mushroom. That's how we want it, people. That's how we want it. Anyways, let's get into this Trippin' Billy's and Josh's matchup, the matchup of the week. It did not disappoint. Very close in some of the batting categories. 10-8 in the home runs. They tied in stolen bases. The averages were close. The OBP was close. And on the pitching side, a little bit more dominant by in terms of winning and quality starts. Josh walked away with 0 in the quality starts with pitchers named Lucas Giolito, Logan Gilbert, Sandy Alcantara, and Dylan Cease. Spencer freaking Strider did not give him a quality start. One pitcher he ended up dropping that gave him a win and one of his week's lowest ERA of 1.59 in Schuster for the Atlanta Braves. But no quality starts. He won by 1 strikeout. Look at that. Schuster was the difference in that category in getting him the win with his 2 strikeouts. Oh, man. That's crazy. I love it. So, but anyways, very close in the batting. Josh won by 3 runs and by 5 RBI. Now, you may be asking yourself, Casey, did this matchup hold the oops of the week? And it held 2, but not the oops of the week. And let me get into where I found some oops. Well, one oops. Oh, Yahoo will be right back. Thank you for your patience. Our engineers are working quickly to resolve the issue. Well, that sucks. Of course it would do that. Changes you made may not be saved. What are we doing here? Oh, we're talking about. I about refreshed on my video. That would have been bad. That would have broke my heart. But we're still live. We're still recording. So good. Where are we at, Yahoo, in this? Where are we? Let's talk the oops for one. Trippin' Billy's. Shane, I'm going to give you a little oops here, guy. Freddie Peralta gave you 9 strikeouts. I know you're a little concerned, but come on, man. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. They got with Zawinski and Brian Hayes, okay? But he would have won you that category, sir. He would have won you that category of strikeouts. Maybe you would have gotten another quality start. Your ERA and whip you already owned. And he might have lowered it a little bit, but you would have won a category. You would have won strikeouts. So that's an oops. However, your counterpart on Friday, I believe it was, Friday, won, nope. And it must have been Sunday as well. Was it Sunday? Let's see. Nope. Maybe it was Thursday. Thursday, Josh. Nope. What day of the week was it? I know I seen it just a minute ago. Josh. Brandon Drury hit 2 home runs, drove in 3, gave you a batting average of 400 and an OBP of 400. You would have tied in the home runs, increased your lead in the RBIs, and quite possibly raised your average and OBP, especially average, to a point of contention in the average department. But those were not your oops of the week. The oops of the week comes from a matchup that ended in a tie One, Christopher Walker. Sir, how dare you rub it in our faces? One, Lamont Wade Jr., as to how productive and proud you are to have him as a member of your team, and you leave him on Saturday benched in an ass whooping of epic proportion from one San Francisco Giants against the Dodgers, and you sat Lamont Wade Jr. over Mark Canha, Kyle Schwarber, Alex Kirilloff, and one Seiya Suzuki. And who was your first baseman that day? Well, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Okay, but again, Lamont Wade gave you 3 runs. You would have tied in that category, therefore taking away a point from Hitman, making the score of this point now 5-4 with a tie. And then a home run, therefore giving you the score in that category, now making your score of 6-4. And then 4 beautiful ribbies are sitting there, therefore would have given you a score of 7-4. And then your batting average was so close, 289 to 303, that I would imagine that a batting average of 600 would have raised it by several points, therefore maybe tying or giving you a point. But we are indeed, in fact, sure that you would have won had you played Lamont Wade on Saturday, June 17th. You would have won, sir, and you didn't. Oops! I missed this. I miss it. I'm glad I'm bringing it back. Oops! You done fucked up. But at least you walked away with a tie, right? Right. So, I enjoy it. Oh, look here. This is good. This is a good cup of coffee. Oh, it's hot. Nice and steamy. Ooh, hello. It tastes like spit. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. That is hot. Woo! Hello. Don't forget, we got wrestling in there a little bit. Well, that concludes our show. 33 minutes. One of my longer ones this season. We ain't done. I'm off today, guys, so why not go ahead and give y'all a little bit of extra content. Plus, I gave you the oops of the week. That one felt good, too, because it was against Chris, so that just felt really good. Let's take a sigh. Let's take a moment. Let's close our eyes, and let's think about something really quick. We just went halfway through the regular season. That means we have played everyone in this league one time. And now here we come back around. Will you favor against the teams that you lost or tied against? Or will you not? Will Eric Croft, who was just given an 11-0 ass beating, turn his season around and go 11-0 for the second half? I don't know. I'm an omens kind of guy. That might be it. Apparently, by the way, I'm going to die when I'm 44 because Paul Goldschmidt's number is 44, and Ray just bought me Hank Aaron's Atlanta Braves jersey, who is also 44. So, yeah. All right. Let me get in my traveling now. Anyways, moving on. I'm going to clear my throat. I haven't even looked at this. I have not looked at our start of the second half of the season. And much like our first half of the season, can't give a matchup of the week in week 1 because We're all equal at that point. But there is only one that I have to say is the matchup of the week, and it is not against two contending or in the top 6 teams. I'm sorry, Fernando. I'm sorry, Nick. This is not your week to be considered the matchup of the week. It is one Christopher Walker versus one Eric Croft. This is our matchup of the week. This is what people pay to see, this type of matchup. They come from lands far and wide to see this one. Trust me. This is the one. Because again, Eric is looking to turn his season around. And the number 2 team is looking to keep him down. The dialogue for the next 7 days is going to be glorious. Because let's face it, Nick and Fernando might as well be blind and not near a laptop or any type of telecommunicating device, because we never see them in the chat. Nick more so than Fernando, but I can't respectfully give the matchup of the week to those 2 gentlemen. Out of all due respect, no. When you see gold like this, you must select it, and therefore I have. I hope I built that up enough. The matchup of the week, Eric V. Walker. 7 days of glory. The other matchups are like this, and again, it's just like week 1. Myself will face off against the lovely Ray. Trip and Billy's will face off against Hitman, and Hitman's trying to get back into the top 6 as well. Josh will face off against Brian. Nick will face off against Fernando, and Jason will face off against Mandalorians. Patrick. Scott. There we are. Patrick is Hitman. So. Now, I said this earlier, way earlier. We are in a hole, people. And that hole just got a lot deeper last week. Thanks, Eric. The number 1 team in our league has probably got the biggest margin of games separating that I've ever seen. The rest of us are down here chomping at the bit for the other 5 positions to make the playoffs. But Nick could probably be on cruise control for the next 3 to 4 weeks if we don't start getting our asses together. We've got to close the gap. Walker is looking to do that this week, in fact, against Eric. But my God, 20 games back is where one Walker sits. And he's in second place to Nick. I sit 22 games back. Josh sits 23. Trip and Billy sits 24.5. And Fernando sits 26. And again, this is where it gets very interesting because the Hitman is 29.5 games back. Therefore, that's 3.5 games back from Fernando. And then Eric's got a long trek because he is almost 10 games back from Fernando. He sits 34.5 games back from Nick. Red Sox Nation is a game and a half from Eric. 2.5 games back is Brian. Ray is 41.5 games back from Nick and only a half game ahead of Scott. I don't think the two bottom teams are completely out of it yet, but they are going to have to turn these next 11 weeks on their ass if they have any sort of shot. One final checkup, the hitman, Pat. He's sitting there with the least amount of moves used in 7. Pat, can I borrow some of your moves, cuz? Second is Ray with 19. I myself am charging ahead with 56. I do it every year. Right behind me is Jason, 36. Not too far behind is Walker with 35. Mandalorians also has 36. Let's call this. 41 minutes into this thing. I've got my cup of coffee. My son has wrestling practice in about an hour and a half. But I got to run over to Orange Park. All this is information you guys don't care about either. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate your energy. I hope you're enjoying your holiday, Juneteenth. I hope you had a great Father's Day, gentlemen. We earned it. We deserve it. Going to a baseball game in a couple of weeks. A lot of us are. I'm excited about that. I think we can go ahead and throw this little tidbit out there as well. I did not know this until a couple of weeks ago, but one Shane Pokenis has never been to a Major League Baseball game. Barring any sort of catastrophic event, September, was it first? Was it first? Make sure. Bear with me. Hold on. September 1st. Myself, several others, will be bringing one Shane Pokenis to his first Major League Baseball game. And he will be watching his favorite team, St. Louis Cardinals, face off against the Pittsburgh Pirates in St. Louis. I'm very excited about this. I really am. It's like bringing your kid to his first amusement park. Except he's not a kid. 40-year-old man, 45-year-old man. I don't know how old he is. I know that. But this is going to change. And we got great seats. Great seats. Right near the dugout of the Cardinals. So I'm excited. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for me. I'm excited. That's all I got. 44-minute long podcast. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this content. I feel like with the oops, it made it better. I feel like me breaking down my matchup against Brian and a victory made it even, it put it over the top. We got a matchup of the week that is one for the ages because we might need to shut down some bridges here in Old Duval County if Eric can't at least keep it close. Keep it close. That's all he wants. 20 games back. You got to catch up. I'm Casey Dobson, and this is obviously a podcast. Have a good day, everybody. Bye. Goodbye.